took this $12 armchair from Goodwill and reupholstered it. So some of the tools that you're going to need are a staple remover, some needle nose pliers to pull out staples, and a staple gun. So I started out this project using a hand staple gun, and it was very difficult. So especially this staple gun in particular wasn't working very well, but just the squeezing and so many staples are needed for this project, it was very difficult. So when I switched to this staple gun that hooks up to my air compressor, things started going much faster and was way easier on my hand. So I definitely recommend using one of these if you're doing a big reupholstering project like an armchair. So let's get started. So there's going to be 4 main steps to reupholstering a project like this. The first step is going to be to start removing all of the fabric from the chair. So I've got my staple remover and I'm starting on the dust cover on the bottom, removing the staples. Now, you might be tempted to just take a pair of scissors and start cutting the fabric off, just trying to get it off any way that you can. But in my opinion, that would be a mistake. You want to preserve the shape of every piece of fabric on the chair, because that is what you're going to use to cut out your new fabric. It's going to be your pattern. So here my mom is helping me, and I've got a flathead screwdriver. She's got the staple remover, and we're just pulling out all the staples. So we just start from the bottom, and anywhere that you see exposed staples, just start pulling them out. Once you start removing some of the fabric, you're going to start to see how the pieces of fabric are put on there. So take pictures or videos so that you don't forget how it was put together. Now, when you start this project, if you're like me, I started to get really overwhelmed because there were just so many pieces, and I just didn't think I would be able to remember how it was all put together. But don't worry, just take it one piece at a time. Just take the pieces off of the chair and label them so that you remember which piece goes where. Some pieces of my chair, like this outside piece and the front arm cover piece, they were attached using tack strips or nails, and I did my best to just preserve everything that was originally used, and when I put them back on, I just nailed it back into the original hole, and then I added in a few more staples to make sure that it was sturdy. Once you have all the fabric removed from the chair, if you have any pieces that have been sewn together, like the cushion, and this is the underside of the cushion that I'm working on right now, you're going to take one of your unpickers and unpick all of the seams. So you just want flat pieces of fabric, and the next step is to use these pieces of fabric as patterns for your new fabric. So we're going to begin to cut out our new fabric in just a moment. I chose a plaid fabric for my new chair, and that was actually kind of a difficult choice because I have to line up the plaid lines. So I have my cushion already made, and here I am lining up the lines with this new pattern piece so that when I cut out the front of the chair that goes underneath the cushion, the lines line up. And I also did this when I was cutting out the back cushion of the chair. I wanted to make sure that those lines were matching all the way through the front of the chair. Many of the pieces on my chair had batting that went between the fabric and the frame of the chair. This particular piece didn't need any batting, but as I was cutting out the pattern pieces, I would also cut out new batting just in the same shape as my pattern piece, so that when I stapled it on, I could staple on new batting as well. Some of the pieces of fabric that you cut out will need to be sewn, like your cushion will need to be sewn, any welting or cording will need to be sewn, and this piece of fabric was going underneath the cushion and it had some darts sewn in. So I just looked at my pattern the way it was sewn, and that's what I took to my sewing machine, and I just tried to copy exactly what I had taken off of the chair. Now we're coming to step 4, where we're going to go piece by piece and staple on the new fabric. So you're just going to kind of work backwards. Whatever the last piece that you were able to take off of the chair will be the first piece that you put on the chair. So we just lined up the piece and stapled it on, smoothing the fabric as we went. Like I said before, this project had me overwhelmed many different times. This is my first reupholstering job, and I did have my mom to help me, which was so great, but I just needed to take it piece by piece. Because when I looked at the whole thing overall, I was like, there's no way I can get all of these things put back on. But when I just took it one piece of fabric at a time, just tried to figure out how does this piece go on, and tried to do it the best that I could, eventually the whole chair got done. My tips for stapling on your new fabric is just to take it one piece at a time and try to remember which order you took stuff off in. So if you need to write that down, make a list, make sure you're labeling your fabric so that you can put it on in the reverse order of how you took it off. And that way you can make sure that you're hiding any seams that you need to hide, and it looks like a nice finished project at the end. And here you can see me using the hand stapler, but when I switched over to the one that uses my air compressor, things were a lot easier and went a lot faster. So I do recommend using one of those. Here you can see me reassembling some of the decorative wood pieces that my chair had. So I'm just screwing in the original screws into the original holes. Here is my finished product. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's definitely not perfect, but I did my best and I learned a lot. And you can see that on the sides there and in the front, I used some rope cording that I bought at Joann's. I could have made more cording with the fabric, and that probably would have looked a little bit better, but honestly by the end of this project I was just ready to be done. So that cording I did attach with hot glue, and I think that's a good option, especially if you don't know how to sew cording. So thanks for watching. Well, thanks for sticking with me all the way through this video. I hope that you learned something. go ahead and leave me a comment with any questions or any tips that you have if you've done upholstery projects before. And make sure to subscribe if you want to see more home projects and more sewing projects. Go ahead and check out this video right here so you can see how I make my rag doll. Thanks, bye.